The meteor was about 3 feet in diameter, NASA says, and weighed about a ton before it broke apart in the sky, sending researchers and hunters alike to this park searching for fragments.
Yeah, so I found 2 meteorites this morning.
So how does it feel?
I was very excited. You know, it's very exciting to find it and know that you're holding something that just 2 days ago was in space.
3 galactic spectacles in the past week, experts.
Yes, sir. Mod Tricker, back up in this thing, man. Today, we'll be taking a look at some mysterious videos from the internet's darkest corners. But before we hop into that, go ahead and spam that button right now so we run our numbers up on the algorithms. You ain't gotta think about it later. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that sub button too. Sub up, join the family. This is the most lit and active community on YouTube, period. With that being said, guys, let's hop straight into the video.
You are not gonna believe this. This is unbelievable. What the Do you see this? You see all this? These are worms. These are mother worms. All of them. Dude, I'm not even playing with you. I'm not even playing with you. Look at this. Oh my god, bro. Oh.
I've seen videos of ants and some other animals doing this and they call it a death circle, so it's either that or this is the worm Tonin 500.
This ball of fire streaking across the night sky. The latest in a string of stellar sightings seen here overnight in California.
Whoa!
And Space City living up to its name.
Did y'all see that?
With this one Saturday afternoon in Houston.
It's going to be an explosion. The meteorite or a missile fell out of the sky.
Traveling at 35,000 miles per hour, NASA says.
That's where it came in at.
Part of it crashing through this woman's roof, leaving a massive crater.
And just boom, then I heard a boom.
The meteor was about 3 feet in diameter, NASA says, and weighed about a ton before it broke apart in the sky, sending researchers and hunters alike to this park searching for fragments.
Yeah, so I found 2 meteorites this morning.
So how does it feel?
I was very excited. You know, it's very exciting to find it and know that you're holding something that just 2 days ago was in space.
3 galactic spectacles in the past week, experts say.
Oh, what the was that?
This in Ohio.
The size of the meteor is pretty big. You can see the fireball more easily.
An out-of-this-world experience that one need only look up to see.
This meteor situation is starting to feel serious, especially now that we got fragments hitting people's homes, and NASA must be on vacation because they've been suspiciously quiet.
What's this?
We lost.
Strength to me is showing up and giving my all both mentally and physically. I am Cassidy Cook, and this is my FSH strength story.
What is that?
I come from a very athletic family. It played such a pivotal role in my life.
To me, it kind of looks like the side view of a smoke ring, possibly from a semi-truck or some sort of heavy-duty machinery. If not, then a portal might actually be opening up.
Y'all check this out right here.
This pickup truck. It sat in my backyard for a year and a half. Didn't use it, didn't need it. Yada, yada. Driving it now. Cleaning it out. It's untelling how long it's been in there now. I don't eat at Chick-fil-A. One of the boys must have got it. That's a Chick-fil-A mac and cheese. Was in the back seat, in the back of the driver's seat. Untelling how long it's been in there. Over a year and a half, I know. Probably close to 2 years. Heat, cold, everything. Not a spot of mold.
If this mac and cheese has really been sitting in the back of his truck for over a year and a half without decomposing, and we can't even consider it food at this point, this is like eating a Roku remote for lunch.
Guess what the CEO who runs ChatGPT fantasizes about?
But how will people survive? Like, how do we adjust our structure of finance, of like, if some people own the companies that have the AI, and then a lot of people are just using the AIs and the agents created by AIs to do things for them. How will society, like societal members, still be able to financially survive? Will there still be money?
I don't know. Neither does anybody else. I don't just want like a check every month. I sort of like universal basic wealth better than universal basic income. And I think I don't like basic either. I want like universal extreme wealth for everybody. 8 quintillion tokens are going to get divided up equally among 8 billion people. So everybody gets 1 trillion tokens. And that's your kind of universal basic wealth globally. And people can sell those tokens. Like if I don't need mine, I can sell them to you. We could pool ours together for some like new art project we want to do. But instead of just like getting a check, everybody on Earth is getting like a slice of the world's AI capacity. And then we're letting the like massively distributed human ingenuity and creativity and economic engine do its thing. I mean, that's like a crazy idea. Maybe it's a bad one. But that's the kind of thing that I think sounds like someone should think about it more.
You can tell they put zero thought into the future because what he's proposing is pretty much the Illuminati's version of Chuck E. Cheese. I feel like this pattern could be evidence that this is more than just contrails and cloud seeding. They might be trying to block out the sky because I've never seen this many lines at one time. It looks like Tony Montana's coffee table.
Want to see something diabolically disgusting today? Let me learn you something. Check this out. I don't know how this is legal, but this is a normal single unit of black printer ink, okay? It's $63 for a single unit. There's a 1/4 ounce of fluid in this, okay? There's 128 ounces in a gallon, so you'd have to times this price by 512 to see how much this costs per gallon. 63 times 512 is roughly $32,000 per gallon of this stuff, or roughly the price of a used mobile home down south. You're telling me a gallon of this crap is worth somebody's home down south? I'm not talking about a mansion for you in the back. I'm talking about just a normal mobile home. Or the price of 6 ounces of gold. Of course they got these things locked up. That's insane. This should be legal.
$32,000 a gallon is actually criminal. If times ever get hard, I'm gonna be going around to all the barbershops selling bootleg ink.
No, not at all. That's ridiculous. Did you tell her there was any other homes provided for her by Eric?
What the is that, bro?
No, but I told her that he had committed.
What is that?
That she would not be kicked out of the house. That she.
I had to go find the original post to make sure this wasn't fake, and the original video was posted by a legal journalist documenting a court case. It has nothing to do with reptilian shapeshifters, so I don't think it was edited. I think she's just actually a lizard.
No seeds supplies.
I've never heard anybody complain about seeds being in a papaya, so it seems like they're trying to do this so they can't be regrown. Monsanto must be stopped.
Hold the up. Did anyone else see this coming? Because the numbers called it before the game even started. The king has officially been crowned. King James has become #1 on the NBA's all-time games played list. And how many games did it take him exactly? 1611. The same year the original King James commissioned the King James Version of the Bible. Same title, same number, but centuries apart. And who did he tie on the way to breaking it? Robert Parrish. Parrish is in the church community, so let's go to church. The King tied 1611 against his former team, the Heat. When he played in Miami, the big three were Wade, Bosh, and Bron. Jersey numbers arranged 316, like John 3:16. Whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Just like Parrish, who LeBron passed to live forever at the top of that list. Now follow me closely. Kobe Bryant played exactly 1566 games in his career. The original King James was born in 1566. LeBron becomes king on the 81st day of his age. Kobe scored 81 on his 666 career game, leading us to Revelation 13:18. Count the number of the beast. His number is 603, scoring 6. Now let's look at the scoreboard that night. The Lakers beat the Heat 134 to 126. 126 like January 26, Kobe's date, and 134 like 4/13, the date of Kobe's last game against the Jazz. The night he scored exactly 60 points. And the same night LeBron tied the record of 1611, Luka scored exactly 60 points. But wait a minute. What makes it even crazier, Luka and Kobe scored their 60th point at the same exact second. The timelines are literally merging. LeBron tied the record against the Heat and broke it against the Magic. This is truly a magic moment. The same night LeBron broke his all-time scoring record, Jay-Z showed up wearing a t-shirt that says, "This is Black Magic." Even Hov knew. The king can finally rest, but the code never does. Kobe's algorithm is still running, and the next chapter, well, it's sealed. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Stay locked in. The narrative continues.
At first I was going to say that this could have all just been summed up as a coincidence, but once I saw Jay-Z pulling up in a "This is Black Magic" shirt looking like a mix between Merlin the Wizard and Rafiki from The Lion King, I knew it was a ritual.
I know you see that.
This could be a city utility tunnel. I've just never seen one under a residential sidewalk like this, so it might be somebody's Diddy dungeon.
Guys, I'm going to show you really quick. I'm going to highlight it. Here, okay, so Stoney and Reed are about to meet in the middle here. A shadow is going to manifest right here, and it's going to slowly walk down. You can see our shadows on the walls. Pay attention to how the shadows look on the walls. You'll see them move around with the infrareds, but then you'll see a clear, almost three-dimensional shadow manifest right here. Wait, watch. They're about to start walking to the right side. Once that happens, the shadow manifests. Here we go. Watch this area right here. Shine a light, nothing. Shine a light away. Something's starting to get darker, and then it starts walking down. Reed stopped. He's already all the way down. He's now stopped, and the shadow keeps going, has stopped, and is now walking more and more. It gets to Reed and then disappears completely. Now, you'll see our shadows on the walls. You see them on both sides. Another shadow has manifested, is walking down. Dude, you know, this is the craziest thing we've ever caught. Walks down the aisle, you'll see it start to go to the right and then sit down on the bench. No one is sitting down. There is three of us. All of us are standing up. Reed's walking away, and me and Stoney are setting up equipment while standing up. Guys, I do not know what to say about this. I literally don't, but this might be the best form of paranormal, or one of the best forms of paranormal evidence that we've caught to date. I am shaking, dude. I've been showing this for like 20 minutes. I'm so glad you guys are here. Can I get a witness?
I'm not sure what kind of entity it is that just captured, but it looks like that first shadow might have attached itself to Reed, so they might want to go check on him and make sure he's not possessed.
Found this field and had a bunch of turkeys in it. I was trying to get pictures, and I saw these like ditches, and I thought it was like a river ditch, and then I almost fell in it. That goes as deep as you can see. And there's another one right here. Deeper than hell.
He's super lucky he didn't fall in there, because if he did, he would have woke up in Agartha.
Starting this year, all the fast food giants have indicated a move towards fully automated kitchens. So everything within the kitchen will be fully automated. The industry itself in robotics is expected to be worth about $2 billion. And that's a move from 2026 over to 2030, where all kitchens will be fully automated. As you see here, they're cooking the patties, and they can even assemble the sandwiches. They all have this tech now, is running through testing, but starting this year, they're going to start to roll it out. They're calling them modular kitchens, and it'll have a software called Ready on Arrival. So you'll arrive in the drive-through, place your order to an AI, and then the AI will make it and deliver it to you in your car.
They're really trying to leave no job untouched. The worst part about this is that McDonald's is going to have a fully automated robotic kitchen, but still can't figure out how to get the ice cream machines to work.
I'm Palm Beach Pete. I'm a regular guy. I'm retired. I lived in the city for a long time, worked in commercial real estate. I love to play tennis. I'm very social. I'm not going to change. This guy is, and he was a really bad person, and I can hold my head high. I didn't do anything. I just happen to have similar looks. I'm just a better looking version than Jeffrey. Back in the day, when I was living in the city, I went to a couple of parties, and Epstein was there at a party, and he was kind of creepy, just sitting on a couch, staying to himself. And he wasn't the magnitude that he is or was. So he wasn't a big deal. He was mysterious. People didn't know how he made his money and where he, what his story was. But I never really encountered him and had a conversation with him. I just saw him at a party.
I want to believe that's not Epstein, but the way he just said that kind of sounds like a supervillain talking about his alter ego. So you never know.
What if I told you guys that these three people, a missing general, a missing rocket scientist, and an astrophysicist that is now deceased, are all connected? Let's get into it. First, let's start with General McCaslin, who was in charge of the UFO research lab at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, who is still missing after he went hiking. Now, it's important to note that he left behind his phone and his Apple Watch, which almost seems like he doesn't want to be tracked and or found. He was in charge of the UFO research team at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, but this wasn't the only Air Force base he had connection to. He was also the lead commander at Kirkland Air Force Base. Now, does anybody want to take a wild guess who else worked there at the same time? Monica Reza, who is a rocket scientist, but also owns the patent to the super alloy metal, Mondaloy, which changed the game for rockets going into space. Who was, just like McCaslin, also hiking, but now also missing since last year. Are we starting to see a pattern yet? Well, if it didn't, maybe this will seal the deal, because this is Carl Grillmeyer, an astrophysicist, an expert in deep space and exoplanets, and is also now. Reports say he was on his front porch by a random carjacker who was going through the neighborhood looking for cars. But here's the thing. He lives in the middle of nowhere, so either this carjacker really wanted his car or something else was afoot. Now, Grillmeyer was a lead researcher at IPEC, which is an analysis center founded at Caltech. Now, just 5 minutes down the road, the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, is also managed by Caltech. Now, remember that rocket scientist Monica Reza I just told you about? She was the director at JPL at the same time that Carl worked at IPEC. Yeah, this is part of the movie where we should all be suspicious. Also, it's important to note that JPL and IPAC work hand in hand when it comes to cross research, meetings, the whole nine. I find this all very interesting timing, being that all these people have extensive knowledge when it comes to exoplanets, space travel, UFOs, and then the government did this. They just booked the domain aliens.gov, so I'm assuming they're gonna do a UFO file dump, giving us disclosure, but the question is, what did all these people know about this? So I had to dig deeper into this, so I got one of the top remote viewers in the world, Elizabeth April, and you guys won't believe what she found. So that's on my YouTube. Make sure you check that out and let me know what you guys think below.
The only reason I can think of why these three people who are all interconnected and work with each other in one form or another all went missing is probably because they were ready to blow the whistle on something that would have hampered the coming agenda. But let me know what you guys think about this one.
All right, guys, who's taking this home?
I'm sure there's somebody out there that collects haunted items that would love to take a seance table home, but not me, because I feel like as soon as you do, you're going to wake up in the morning and see Casper's uncles in the kitchen waiting for breakfast.
And it's not just Dracula, but many early vampire novels before the 20th century were deeply associated with and influenced by Freemasonry. This is not a conspiracy, but a historical fact that hints at something more secretive and occult surrounding the concept of the vampire. Bram Stoker's Dracula was published in 1897 and had become one of the most iconic Gothic novels of all time. But here's what has been lost and conveniently never mentioned. Did you know that Bram Stoker was a master mason? Stoker's own Masonic journey began in 1883 when he was initiated into the Buckingham and Chandos Lodge in London. During this time, he mingled with influential figures including Sir Henry Irving, whose charisma and mystique likely inspired elements of Count Dracula himself. Even John William Polidori, the author of The Vampire, was a Freemason. Initiated in 1818, Polidori not only created the first modern vampire tale in English, but also served as Lord Byron's personal physician. Byron himself came from a family with strong ties to Freemasonry. His great uncle was strangely called the Wicked Lord. He also was known for his neighbor, William Chaworth, over a simple argument. The case led to a trial in the House of Lords in 1765, but he avoided imprisonment by paying a fine, walking free despite the scandal.
This connection between Freemasonry and vampires kind of makes me think that the concept of vampires is just a symbolic way of talking about cannibalism.
Most of you have probably already heard of and seen the Nazca mummies. They're very interesting ones with 3 fingers, 3 toes. People are very divided about them, especially these little ones that were unveiled at the press conference in Mexico. And people are debating whether they're actually real or they're a hoax. And everybody is kind of divided on that topic. But did you know that there has been mummies found in America, some of them dating over 3,000 years old? This is one of them that I think is really fascinating. It was found in a cave in Wyoming by a couple of miners who were mining for gold. They blasted open this mine shaft, and inside they didn't find gold, but they found a cave that was about 15 feet deep and sort of narrow. And when they went in there, they found this little guy that they nicknamed Pedro. It only sits about 6.5 inches tall, and it has been studied even by the Natural History Museum, and it was determined that it was an infant that was born with anencephaly, and so it was born with a disorder, it didn't survive, and it was tucked away with its arms folded in this cave. But the story doesn't end there. When this little mummy was found, it started all kinds of rumors that there was a group of indigenous pygmy people or little people that may exist or have existed in antiquity in the Americas. And one of the interesting things about this was that not only was, after it was found, it was sold, and then it was kind of used like a sideshow attraction. It was actually put inside a glass jar and on display at a local drugstore in Wyoming. But after they did the x-rays on this at the Natural History Museum, they determined that it was probably an infant. But this is where it gets weird, because if it was an infant, why did it have a full set of teeth and fully developed bones like it was an adult with like some sort of miniaturism? I don't know, some kind of a pygmy indigenous person. But this went all over the place, and then ultimately it went missing. So it was studied quite a bit. After it was found, it went on display at the local drugstore inside this glass jar where people could come in and pay money to go and see it, like a sideshow. And then when it got sent off to the Natural History Museum, and in the x-rays they found that it had a full head of teeth, which doesn't make sense if this was an infant, but the ultimate finding was that it was just an infant that was born with a congenital disease. But it is a fascinating story, and this little mummy actually went missing, and nobody knows exactly where it is to this day, probably in someone's private collection.
It could have been an infant, but if it actually had a full row of teeth, then maybe they just used that story to cover up the fact that pygmy people actually existed the same way they covered up the giants.
You see this photo of a ghost woman through the window of a visitation block. So apparently the image was taken by a 48-year-old British teaching assistant who was named Sheila Sillery Walsh, who visited the jail with her partner Paul. Sillery Walsh said, quote, "While doing an audio tour of the place, I casually stopped to take a snap of the empty visitation block window on my iPhone. When I glanced at the photo on my mobile phone, I saw this dark female figure in the picture. I looked at the window again and there was no one in the room. I knew straight away that the woman in the photo was a ghost, and I showed the snap to Paul. From that point onwards, I wasn't interested in the Alcatraz tour anymore. I just kept looking up the picture over and over again." Her partner Paul said, quote, "When I first saw the photo, I tried to rationalize the female figure away by saying it was just Sheila's reflection. But with closer inspection, it's obvious that this is not the case at all. The woman's hair and clothing is from a different era entirely. It looks like she's from the 1930s or 40s. I have no logical explanation for the girl in the picture. I'm baffled by her. It's funny because she's staring right at the camera with a knowing look. I was really skeptical about ghosts before, but I'm a bit more of a believer now." The couple have tried to find out the identity of the woman in the photo. Oh, good. And they even contacted the staff at Alcatraz, but none of the old-timers recognized the woman in the photo.
I just looked it up to see if there were any women who passed away on Alcatraz Island, and I couldn't find any official reports, but I saw a Facebook post saying that a woman named Ella Diaz got by her husband 134 years ago, so maybe it's her.
Hey, check this out.
This is not a play, this is real life, and you can get out.
Justine, call me if you need me. For my cane.
Let's get the money.
Couldn't even sneak off somewhere.
Justina wasn't what it looked like. There it goes. We were rehearsing Joan of Arc.
I don't remember Joan of Arc kissing anybody. You show me in here where Joan of Arc kisses somebody, then we have no problem.
The question is, why did they change that? What you're looking at is the Cosby Show. In the original version, you see they're talking about Joan of Arc. In the streaming version, it's altered. My question is, why take that out? Why go through the trouble of something that's already pre-taped, pre-recorded, pre-edited? For what reason? Obviously, there's a reason for that. And the question is, how many things do they do that to? They're going to do it to the Cosby Show. You think they ain't going to do it to news? You think they're not going to do it to historical events? Why take the manpower? Why devote that energy to changing something as so simplistic as the Cosby Show? TL Cross caught this and somebody sent it to me, and it's spot on. I have no idea why they would actually edit that and then put it out on streaming services. And how many things are like that? How many things that we see or we notice and we're like, or we call it the Mandela effect, or people call us nuts, or people say we're misremembering, and then they actually are changing things. It's bigger than the Cosby Show, for sure.
And this is probably why they've been pushing us so hard to move to streaming services versus owning our own DVDs and VHS tapes. So when they do change the media, we have no proof and we just call it the Mandela effect.
I hope you like this one. It's ice from the garden.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chef.
I'm sure they're marketing this as an exclusive Michelin star dining experience, but I don't care how luxury or exclusive a restaurant is. I refuse to graze on my salad like a billy goat. But that was the video, guys. Don't forget to sub up, hit that hype button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
On average, the United States has been starting wars with other nations once every 10 years since its founding. And during this time, Iran hasn't started any. Foreign interest in Iran during the modern era began in the early 1900s with the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. The British Crown became dependent upon Iranian oil, and the people of the Middle East were subjected to a century of betrayals, strategic deception, and psychological operations. In 1921, Britain overthrew the Iranian government. During World War II, both Britain and the USSR invaded Iran to steal their oil. In 1953, Britain and the USA overthrew the Iranian government. After 9/11 was carried out by the USA and Israel, Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda were blamed, assets of Western intelligence agencies, and the foreign Zionists then began a campaign of mass murder in the region that has so far amassed a death count in the millions. And when Zionist forces occupied Iraq, the Iranians knew they were coming for them, and so they prepared accordingly. Less than 48 hours before the United States and Israel attacked Iran on February 28th, the United States had just concluded their most productive round of nuclear negotiations in years and had agreed to meet again in 4 days. The independent mediator announced that a peace deal was within reach and said Iran had agreed it would never have enough nuclear material to create a bomb. Iran had offered full IAEA access to its nuclear sites. Iran offered to downblend its highly enriched uranium stockpiles to the lowest possible level and convert them into irreversible fuel. Technical talks were scheduled for the following Monday in Vienna, and a fourth round of political negotiations was scheduled within the week. But 48 hours later, Trump and Israel launched an attack on Iran. The initial strikes included the nation's leader and 178 Iranian schoolgirls, who were murdered by the U.S. with a double strike of Tomahawk missiles. The so-called Army, Navy, and Air Force that Trump brags about completely destroying were decoys meant to help waste U.S.-Israeli munitions. Iran has clearly been paying attention to the Zionist protocols of war and have developed a deterrent that secures their sovereignty. The real military is underground. A massive city of tunnels has been built beneath the entire country, with a stockpile of missiles to rain down daily for years. This underground city is well beyond the depth for U.S. and Israeli bunker busters, and it seems to have an endless amount of launch sites throughout the entire nation. Their weapon systems are all custom-made to defeat the Zionist war machine. Thousands of drones launched in swarms to overwhelm defense systems. Missiles with no fins upon re-entry, making it harder for radar to get a lock. Missiles that steer away from predicted flight paths to evade interceptors. Missiles that deploy several other warheads that evade interceptors. And hypersonic missiles fast enough to evade modern air defense systems. Iran is having so much success that on March 21st, they launched a single strike against Israel's nuclear facilities at Dimona and hit the target in an impressive show of force that sent a clear message. Iran can now target Israel's nukes at will. One of the most striking things about Iran's campaign has been their transparency. They have been announcing their actions and targets and following through to their word, which stands out in stark contrast to the US-Israeli method of war, deception and terror. Iran's real navy is underground as well, and designed specifically for this war. They have thousands of unmanned surface vehicles that operate as swarms and are equipped to take down any ship in the Gulf, no matter how massive. After decades of being exploited and playing nice, Iran has effectively nationalized the Strait of Hormuz, which has always been their home. Iran has been planning this since 2003. They have enough munitions for years and are continuing to produce more underground. The US and Israel, on the other hand, are already running out. Iran has made it clear they will not submit to the Zionist threat, and they will tank the world economy if they need to, which is well within their ability at any moment.
Let me tell you, we're already at full war here. We're being sleptwalked into total war, just like NATO did with Russia. They had the Ayatollahs and the Council of 12 and a bunch of their leadership meeting again in another bunker. And the Pentagon believes all in there were basically killed. That's another Israeli strike today. And they're not going to give up. And as you go down the ranks, the IRC and the rest of it, they even get more psychotic. We're being sleptwalked into total war, just like NATO did with Russia. Rise up. This is the commitment. We're going to, regime change. This is it. And I want total surrender from the Iranian National Guard. And you'll be given total amnesty, or if you don't, you will be destroyed. When he said that, he clearly stated total commitment to regime change with Iran, 3 times the size of Iraq, much bigger population, much more high-tech weapons, and has an alliance with China, Russia, and North Korea. And now the U.S. has ordered everybody out of the Strait of Hormuz, no civilian ships going through there, so it's effectively already closed. The Iranians last year passed it in their parliament, which is a rubber stamp to the Ayatollahs to seal it if they were hit in a major attack. They're taking out their naval ships. They're taking out their shipyards. They're taking out their command and control, their air defense, their air bases, their missiles. I mean, this is massive. When this all kicked off in June last year, 9 months ago, I said this is about regime change. This is about getting the camel's nose on the tent flap. This is about sleepwalking into full war. That's what the real policy is regime change. And Israel and the U.S. are trying to overthrow the mullahs, and they had 4 or 5 big uprisings they financed since then that failed. And then Trump says, oh, they've got missiles. Now we've got to take out their military that can deliver nukes, which I told you they would do. And that's really cover for regime change. And now they killed the Ayatollah and a bunch of the military command, as you know, in the first strike at 2 a.m. Texas time, Saturday morning. And then they had the Ayatollahs and the Council of 12 and a bunch of their leadership meeting again in another bunker. And the Pentagon believes all in there were basically killed. That's another Israeli strike today. And they're not going to give up. And as you go down the ranks, the IRC and the rest of it, they even get more psychotic and are more dug in. And then you have the Strait of Hormuz that is closed, sunken ships in it, but not fully blocked, but closed because the insurance companies won't let any ships go through because they get attacked, they get sunk. So effectively, they have closed it without having to physically close it by sinking a couple oil tankers in it. And a few more, it'll be blocked physically. And then we're going to have to, quote, send in ground troops to, quote, control the other side of the beach so that they can send in the big dredges and stuff to haul them out. And see, that's they'll be mounting pressure. Oh, the U.S. has to go in, has to open it. You see how, and then you go the next piece, the next piece, the next piece. And then those troops are going to get attacked that are on the ground, securing the Strait of Hormuz on the Iranian side, and then we're going to have to expand to push that group back, and then, oh, those troops are attacked. We got to expand to defend those troops. See how this works? It's called an escalatory ladder. Here's the big announcement, ladies and gentlemen. It took 15 years for the West to topple the Assad regime, the last Ba'athist group in the Middle East. And if it takes 15 years now of civil war, ground war, we are now committed to this. Unless there's major public pressure and understanding of what's happening to get this to be shut down and stopped. That's why the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff told Trump this has a lot of really bad ramifications and will finally go into total war. And Trump went ahead with it regardless. And you're told, oh, it's just surgical strikes. It'll be over very quickly. Oh, it's going to last 2 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks. Now we're told it'll last until September. March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Oh, 7 months now. Remember, 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Just stay in your house for 2 weeks. Some areas of the world, it was 3 years locked up. Here in the U.S. and Europe, 2 years. Canada, almost 2 years. U.S. Central Command, meanwhile, is asking the Pentagon to send more military intelligence officers to its headquarters in Tampa, Florida, to support operations against Iran for at least 100 days, but likely through September, according to a notification obtained by Politico. Yeah. So we're being sleptwalked into total war, just like NATO did with Russia. The one big thing, other than releasing a new pandemic, and that's buying into the fear and going along with the lockdown. The only other thing is a big Middle Eastern war, particularly that cuts off the Strait of Hormuz. So 4 days into it, and the Strait of Hormuz is still shut down, and it's going to be shut down for a long time because the Iranians haven't even tried to block it completely yet. They just sunk a few ships.
The coping is just nuclear level at this point. Sarah Netanyahu is claiming that her children were bullied just because their dad did a genocide. What's just a little genocide? What's the big idea?
My children have suffered shaming and violence simply because they are the children of the Prime Minister.
The children of the genocidal named Satan Molokowski. Yes, the guy that's committing a genocide, the guy that the entire international community calls for his arrest for war crimes. Yeah, that guy.
We must condemn personal attacks on children in any setting, whether in person
Man,
or
I don't think I'm going to be losing any sleep thinking about your Sarah.
ongoing, online. I see this gathering as a bond of responsibility between nations, between...
It's called the dildo of consequences, Sarah. You're now feeling the effects of your own actions.
women leaders and between mothers who understand that the best way to build a stronger...
The dildo of consequences rarely arrives, Lou, Sarah Netanyahu.
The future is the invest in our children today. First Lady Melania, thank you for this important event. May our shared effort help children all over the world to learn better, grow more safely, and flourish with hope. Thank you very much.
And to Guatemala, we hope that your forests don't catch in fire. Thank you. Israeli media is reporting that Netanyahu expects a ceasefire announcement from Trump this Saturday. Translation, ground invasion coming this weekend. Seems like everybody's predicting this. North Korea's prominent leader says the best indicator that Netanyahu is eliminated is that Trump never talks about him anymore. That's quite conspicuous, huh? He never talks about Bibi, his good friend. Pretty weird. I want to know what AI Iran is using and why are they so good at this?
We've achieved our goals with Iran. I hope they'll negotiate.
We've achieved our goals in Iran, I hope. I think. I mean, like, pretty much. It's like very complete, pretty much.
The war is finished.
You're attacking us. Can you give us a question? No, Mr. President-elect. Go ahead. President-elect.
I mean, it's obviously AI because Trump doesn't walk that fast. Come on, that fast.
Iran must be divided.
Ew. Does anybody know what that says? I think it said Trump's a little bitch. Oh, shit. Did the Iranians just drop a teaser? Wow. Yo. This extract from Wolf's book is a shocking insight into Trump's mind. Let's read. On his first night in the White House, President Trump complained that the TV in his bedroom was broken because it didn't have the Gorilla Channel. The Gorilla Channel. Trump seemed to be under the impression that a TV channel existed that screened nothing but gorilla-based content 24 hours a day. What the Did I just read? To appease Trump, the White House staff compiled a number of guerrilla documentaries into a makeshift guerrilla channel. What the? Broadcast into Trump's bedroom from a hastily constructed transmission tower on the South Lawn. I'm so glad we're using our money for this. Who needs health care? I need to know that my president has his gorilla fix. To appease Trump, White House staff compiled a number of guerrilla documentaries. Yeah, we just read that. However, Trump was unhappy that with the channel they had created, of course, send it back. How spiritually Israeli of him. You know, you always got to send the meal back at least once. It's too hot. No, now it's too cold. He moaned that it was boring because the gorillas aren't fighting. Oh my God, he wants to see the gorillas fight. Staff edited out all the parts of the documentaries where gorillas weren't hitting each other. And at last, the president was satisfied. On some days, he'll watch... No way. There's just no way that this is true. On some days, he'll watch the gorilla channel for 17 hours. This can't be real. No wonder we're going to hell in a handbasket. He kneels in front of the TV with his face about... No. This can't be real. With his face about 4 inches from the screen and says encouraging things to the gorillas. Like, the way you hit that other gorilla was good. I think he thinks the gorillas can hear him. How is that real? Apparently Harrison Smith says it's real. A good explanation here for why Trump thinks the war is going great and all the negative press coverage is wrong. He's consuming it via highlight reel. This is another article. It says, each day since the start of the war in Iran, U.S. military officials compile a video update for President Donald Trump that shows video of the biggest, most successful strikes on Iranian targets. So he's just fed a loop of all these buildings being exploded and he thinks, oh, well, we're winning. Look at that. What a strategy. He's like, well, if the guerrillas aren't fighting, then we're losing. But if the guerrillas are fighting, then we're winning. Must be destruction. Must be violence. So it shows the videos of the biggest, most successful strikes on Iranian targets over the previous 48 hours, 3 current U.S. officials and a former U.S. official said. The daily montage typically runs for about 2 minutes, sometimes longer, the official said. One described each daily video as a series of clips of stuff blowing up. Yes, blow stuff up equals win war. I mean, I guess if your goal was to destroy the education infrastructure in Iran, then I guess you won the war, maybe. No politic. There's always politic here. This is the political central stream. There's always the politic. They said the videos are also driving Trump's increasing frustration with news coverage of the war. Trump has pointed to the success depicted in the daily videos to privately question why his administration can't better influence the public narrative. Asking aides why the news media doesn't emphasize what he's seeing, one of the current U.S. officials and the former U.S. official said. So this is just that feedback loop that Trump has created here, his echo chamber in the White House. And, you know, he's surrounded by sycophants that all want to keep their job, and they all have to, you know, frame the information in a way that pleases Trump, lets him know he's doing a great job and to continue on. And it's completely untethered from material reality. And there's a shining example of it. Oh, okay. So this isn't real. He's trolling us. He says, holy shit, it's real. He says this is from 2018. These days, I could almost believe it. All right, so that's fake. This thing that we just read, it's fake. It makes sense because 17 hours a day, 4 inches away from the screen, talking to the gorillas as if they can hear him. That's a bridge too far there. Look at this. Israelis go to the sites of the Iranian strikes and they steal. Such a wonderful people. This is Talmud book 7. Oh, you got book 7, Shlomo. Here's book 5. Oh, Mordecai. Very nice. Good find. Yes. Shameless. It's you know, it's their tradition, you know. Who are we to slander their tradition of theft and piracy? Right, Sasha? Sasha, I'm hiding behind your super chat because I'm shy. I want you to know that. America once said we have defeated communism. Today, 36 years later, America is still fighting communism. You can't defeat good ideas. Yeah, and the largest economy outproducing the United States is a communist country. Pretty crazy. That's the world we live in. And I think, a broad understanding of this war with Iran is that it's ultimately a war with China. And I think the Americans just chose Iran as the battlefield for their ultimate war with China. And I think it goes back to that Epstein class of financial elites and industrial monopolists that have an invested interest in thwarting China. And so they are the ones telling Trump, must go to war with Iran, gotta do it because we've got to beat China in the long run. Ultimately, all wars are fought not because of religions, not because of cultures, They're fought over resources, and anybody that tells you anything different is lying to you. Wars are fought because of opposing economic system. And so if you understand that, you can see why we're fighting this war with Iran from a logical standpoint, because we're trying to oppose BRICS. We're trying to oppose the socialist bloc. We're trying to oppose what is now becoming an increasing reality, the petro-yuan. Here's some peak victimhood at the UN. Israel's ambassador blared a siren. Danny Danon is up to his old antics. They always have props. Israel's ambassador blared a siren to play victim exactly like the ones used during attacks in Israel. This is so cringe. Let's have a look.
Madam President, let me share with you the reality.
I can't imagine any of these people not being so tired of this speech impediment. I want to use a bad word, but I'm not going to do it.
We are facing on the ground in Israel today. When Hezbollah launches one of their rockets, it happens almost every day, is what
this
Israel is here.
Madam President, when the Iranians launch attack Israel, the sirens they sound, and this is what they sound like. It's like getting an Amber Alert. Oh no. Feel bad for these guys.
When you hear
this is oppression. No, wait, I'm sorry. This is oppression. This is real anti-Semitism.
This siren, you have 15 seconds.
What? Okay, so Iron Dome doesn't work, Danny Danon. That's what you're telling us? Only 15 seconds? I thought the vaunted Iron Dome system gave ample warning to all of the Chosenites to give them enough time to run to the bunker.
15 seconds to seek shelter. Think about that for one moment.
I have thought about it. I've been thinking about it for 3 years now when I think about the Gazans that you've been murdering savagely, who never get warnings, actually. I'm surprised. Actually, that's amazing that you get 15 seconds of a warning. That's more than you give the Gazans. So fuck around and find out a little bit.
15 seconds. Imagine
50 seconds.
You are at home.
Look, now he's got a fucking stopwatch to let us know. This is how much 15 seconds is. It's exactly a quarter of a minute.
You have 3 children. Which one do you take with you first? Do you go back?
The one that doesn't wear a tiny hat.
For the others, do you carry your elderly parent? What if you are outside now? 15 seconds. That's it.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to get with the Iranians. We'll try to get that up to about 30 seconds. How's that sound? Is that a good compromise? We'll give you 30 seconds now. That's double the time. Now you can gather your son, usury, your daughter, porno, and even your grandma, arson, so that you can safely exit the building. 15 seconds is just enough time to say yo, wow, kaboom, wow. All right, the wars in the Middle East are making Israel stronger than ever, says Netanyahu. Boasting in Hebrew, we are breaking through the borders. He said, let us take a look. I think this is earlier today.
And I want to say a word about our heroic and brave fighters, because in fact, their heroism, their courage has changed the equation. I don't need to explain to you where we were and where we are today. We are breaking through, literally, borders. We do things because of them, the soldiers, because of their commanders, and also because of the decisions we make. Israel is stronger than ever. Iran is weaker than ever. It's still trying.
That's true. And I've also heard on good authority that there's been a 15% decrease in soiled diapers in the IDF at this point. They're getting stronger. They're braver. So this is a good trend. Not so good for the diaper market, which I've heard is taking a deep dive.
By all sorts of means. You see it and know it. But we have changed the way we are being.
Also notice that he's got the eternal wrinkles on his forehead. Those were missing in those AI videos we saw. We didn't see these wrinkles, but even when he's not making a face or an expression, they're always there, and yet they weren't there in those AI videos. That was a big tell.
Treated. I can tell you that I am not just saying, it's not just me saying this, but countries in the region are saying this, and possibilities are being created for alliances that we couldn't even dream of because of the assessment of the strength of the state of Israel and the determination of the
look at those eye bags.
Israeli Defense Forces.
He looks like he's not getting enough rest.
Resilience of the citizens. Everything fits together, and there is a completely different assessment of Israel's might and its role in the region. And if this is true for the entire Middle East, it is certainly true and must also be expressed in the north of the country and in the problems that we have dealt with.
I want to show you this clip of Lawrence Wilkerson, which it's going to make you feel really good, I think. Lawrence Wilkerson was on a podcast last night called Israel Hammered Donald Doom. Brilliant. And I want you to listen to his opening remark about how Israel is getting devastated right now, because he has a lot of insight.
During the Gulf War and had to.
It's an interesting development, if nothing else. And I think it comes at a time when he is much harassed and very concerned. I know that's placing a lot of burden on interpretation of Donald Trump, but my information is both Witkoff and Kushner have been utterly refused conversations. My information further is that Donald Trump tried even himself to get through to Arachi or to someone of consequence and was refused. So it's my now interpretation that Donald Trump is getting a bit desperate. No one in the Iranian government of consequence will talk with him. I think he's also getting a little bit nervous because Bibi has discovered, as Bibi is wont to do, that Trump is getting cold feet, if you will. And Bibi is not interested in that at all. He's doubling down as a consequence. This makes no sense to me, except that maybe he thinks time is running out for him to capture all of Lebanon or to kill all of Lebanon or both. He's intensifying his attacks in Lebanon. I don't know what it means for Israel proper, because at the same time, I'm telling you, I'm hearing very good sources about Trump and his overtures. I'm also hearing and have been furnished with some pirated video.
Here we go. Listen up.
To convince me that they're telling me the truth, that Israel is flat being devastated.
Oh, God, please. The
Karam Shah's
more.
In particular, the Mach 3, Mach 4, even Mach 5 missiles that have, I don't like to call them cluster warheads. Maybe that's a good adjective, but the real type of warhead it is somewhat like our MIRV nuclear weapons. That is to say, the weapon comes in on a Soviet-Russian silo, for example, and because they're so hard to destroy, because they're underground, it actually just outside the atmosphere, and just as it penetrates, it separates, and 8 to 10 warheads come down, each of which has 1 or 2 or 3 nuclear weapons in it of quite a magnitude. So you get this overpressure, if you will, this strike ability on a silo, which is very hard to take the missile out in, and you get pretty much guaranteed destruction of the missile in there. Well, this is not that sophisticated, and it's not nuclear, of course, but I've watched them come down, and I've watched how they've spread, and I've watched the damage done. I've seen people killed in the street.
Listen up to this.
I saw an Israeli military officer. I couldn't tell the rank, killed in the street. I know he was dead. His body parts were in different places. And I've seen Haifa, and I've seen Tel Aviv in particular, Ben Gurion Airport, and other places. It's just being pummeled. If it weren't for the fact that Israel has so many underground shelters and people are being imprisoned in those underground shelters, they'd have a far higher casualty rate. But even as it is, I think the casualty rate is about 5 or 10 times what they're saying it is. You know, what a lockdown Bibi puts on any kind of communication line. And the destruction the same. So we're looking at Israel being literally ripped apart. And I'm told there are at least 10,000 of these missiles left. Plus, underground, they have production lines. So this could go on for another 2 to 3 months in terms of the intensity Israel is being destroyed at. And it could go on arguably for quite a while if this is true about them having actual production facilities underground. All to say, I think it's getting very tense between Netanyahu and Trump, between the United States national security structure and the Israeli national security structure. And nothing is being afforded by the Iranians that looks like it will relieve that tension at all. So Donald is getting desperate.
Hell yeah.
Donald is getting desperate.
You see why I showed you this?
You have made the argument very strongly that the United States has been pushed into something not in its own national interest by pressure from Israel and the lobbying power of Israel.
Well, it has been. The question is whether the person who makes the ultimate decision, who would be President Trump, should have pushed back. That's it. Of course, Trump should have pushed back.
So Tucker Carlson sat down with The Economist for an interview about Israel. That was with Zanny Minton Beddoes. But he didn't just accept what she asked. He questioned her framing, which is an enormous relief. So often people come in with very dishonest, disingenuous framing. And in case you don't know what that means, There's an old question that they talk about in law schools as a good example of how to set someone up with bad framing. You ask them, when did you stop beating your wife? Well, wait a minute, if you were never beating your wife, what do you mean, when did I stop beating my wife? That assumes that I'm already guilty, right? So, and that is exactly what the press does to protect Israel. And Tucker's gonna talk about some of that framing, and I'm gonna talk about it as we show you the parts of the interview. And already there, he's talking about Israel's influence. They have a huge lobby in this country. And reporters in America, and this is from England, but same thing. No, it's not the same thing actually. It's much worse in America, but it also happens in the British press and the European press as well. You ask them, hey, do the oil companies have influence when they give a tremendous amount of money to our politicians? Yes. Big pharmaceutical companies, well, yes, obviously. Big banks, defense contractors, yes. Israel, no, you anti-Semite, how dare you? Wait, are you crazy? What do you mean? So Israel is the one lobby that doesn't affect politicians at all, and that in fact, if you suggest that they do, that you somehow hate Jewish people. So they're exempt from the regular rules of humanity and physics and politics? No, that's absurd. You're making a special exception for Israel, right? We're not saying that only the Israeli lobby has influence. All the lobbies have influence. This is super obvious unless you're a legacy media reporter and you just can't seem to figure out anything wrong with Israel ever. So, but let's give you more from the interview.
I think it is a disaster for the future of Israel, a disaster for the Palestinian people, a horror, 70,000 people dead.
Why would you describe it first as a disaster for the future of Israel? You've got tens of thousands of civilians murdered, but it's foremost a disaster for the future of Israel. No, it's foremost a disaster for the families of the dead kids.
I made 3 points.
Because everybody sucks up to Israel in this way that suggests they're afraid. And everyone is afraid, and you know that. Everyone's like, the real problem is calling people anti-Semites allows real anti-Semites to flourish. It's like, no, actually the real problem with calling people anti-Semites who aren't is accusing the innocent of a crime they didn't commit. And the real crime in Gaza is killing people who did nothing wrong. So those are the real problems, I would say. But no one can say it because you have to be like, oh no, but really October 7th.
I don't know what you're talking about, Gaza. We're having a
everyone watching this knows what I'm talking about.
Fantastic. Yeah. So look, I like that Tucker challenged her on the real problem in Gaza is how it hurts Israel.
That's me.
I mean, God, they say it with a straight face. It's amazing. But it's not to say that her point is wrong. This is one of the less offensive things that happened in the interview. So they're talking about Gaza in that case, and Tucker challenges her framing on it. They're both right. By far the number one problem is the well over 72,000 Palestinians that were killed by Israel, including over 20,000, now approaching 30,000 children that were killed. So that is an enormous problem. It's a genocide. But she's not wrong that it creates a second problem that is, and Tucker's right, much less important, but also real, which is that, yes, it also hurts Israel. Why do you want to be seen as genocidal maniacs? How does that help your country? And how does it help your country to expose yourselves as fascists that are constantly taking more and more of their neighbor's land while pretending to do self-defense? In fact, if you're curious about that, that's because the media has infected your brain with Israeli propaganda, and they've made it seem like Israel is the victims. I'm going to show you a map in a couple of minutes here that shows you that's not true at all. All they've done is attack their neighbors over and over again and taken more and more of their land. But the whole time, back to Tucker's point, we're having a conversation, but wait. What helps Israel? What hurts Israel? Oh, Israel, Palestinians, who cares? October 7th, she said, is a horror, the horrors of October 7th. True enough, definitely. And we talked about it instantly on the Young Turks and we condemned it, it was terrible. Then Israel did 70 October 7ths. But when you're talking about Israel, it's never the horrors of what Israel's done. There's a collateral damage, using human shields, talking point. But back to Israel. Has this hurt Israel at all to slaughter all those people? Yes, it's also hurt Israel. But they can't see straight, right? Because They think, oh, it doesn't matter. They've been taught, they've been brainwashed their whole lives, if you live in Israel, that the whole world hates you. Everyone's an anti-Semite. So if someone is criticizing you, you didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with genocide as long as you do it. There's nothing wrong with attacking all your neighbors and taking their land. God told you need to create graders. No, the only reason why anyone is criticizing you is because they're anti-Semites. The whole rest of the world is hateful. So keep doing exactly what you're doing because you're golden and moral and wonderful. It's the rest of the world that's filled with hate, that's bothered by you slaughtering these people and taking their land when everyone knows it's self-defense. Like people in Israel absolutely, positively believe that. They don't realize they live in a fascist state. They think that they live in this besieged state. Oh no, do we have a right to exist? Which brings us to the next clip. Let's watch.
Given that Israel's right to exist, would you consider yourself a Zionist in that narrow definition?
What does that mean, a right to exist?
The existence of the political state of Israel as
but
it has
a right. What does that mean? The phrase you used was devised by the Israeli government. Of course, does it have a right to exist? And so my question to you would be, what does that mean?
Why don't you answer my question? It's a very simple question.
I don't know what your question is. Are you asking, does it have a right to exist, or do I want it to exist? Do I seek its destruction?
Fine, answer it that way.
Well, of course I don't seek its destruction. I've already said, as you know, because I said it to you, I don't want Israel to be destroyed or have to use nuclear weapons.
We've established that you are in that narrow terms a Zionist. If that's how
I'm in no sense a Zionist. I don't want any country to be destroyed at all, and I don't want people to die, particularly ones who committed no crime, because I don't believe in killing innocents.
Yeah, so this whole thing about every time you see someone in the media or in politics, as we covered last week with Josh Shapiro, Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, starting with, oh, Israel has a right to exist. Understand that that is propaganda. It is a trick. They know that it's a trick, and they do it anyway to insult our intelligence. Why do I say that? Israel already does exist. They have Iron Dome, literally no other country does, a defensive shield for them. They have nukes, very few countries have nukes. They have a military that just showed you that they could defeat all the other militaries in the Middle East by themselves. So a dominant military with nukes and special protection Iron Dome and the backing of the United States of America and almost all the Western countries. Whether they exist or not is not at all in question. They most definitively exist and they're not going in anywhere. They're not going anywhere and they're completely and utterly dug in. That is a fake question. The real question is, do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Because Palestine doesn't exist. So when you're talking about this issue, they don't want you to talk about the actual victims, the Palestinians, who were slaughtered in 48 and in first round of ethnic cleansing called the Nakba. And that's the catastrophe because 750,000 Palestinians were driven not just from their land, but from their actual homes. They slaughtered them and they moved them and they pushed them out and they grabbed that land. And they did it again in 1967. They had brutally attacked all of their neighbors, claiming this new idea of preemptive war. We prevent the war by starting the war. Fascism 101. What did the Germans say? We need breathing space. What is Israel saying right now as they're taking southern Lebanon? We need a buffer zone. They just took buffer zone after buffer zone, and no one in American media asked, do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Does Palestine have a right to exist? Does southern Lebanon have a right to exist? Does the Golan Heights have a right to exist? No. All they asked was, does Israel have a right to exist? Because they are purposely trying to trick you and manipulate you into believing that Israel is the victim and the Palestinians are the aggressors. Oh, those Arab and Muslim savages. All they understand is violence. No one has spread more bigotry against Muslims and Arabs in the West than the Western press. The media, the so-called journalists, the so-called reporters have been viciously bigoted towards Muslims to the point, guys, here I can prove it for you. How many times have you heard the question, does Israel have a right to exist, in the media? I've heard it hundreds of times. My guess is most of you have heard it either dozens or hundreds of times. And always accusatory, as if like the person being asked the question is about to murder all of the people inside Israel. Does Israel have a right to exist? You dirty anti-Semite, is the inference of that question, right? And every time everybody says, yeah, of course they have a right to exist, but they've already been framed as guilty. When did you stop beating your wife, right? We already know you're beating your wife. We already know you hate Jews, but does Israel have a right to exist? I caught you. You had to say yes. I didn't have to say yes. I said yes because those people are already there. We can't move them. What are we gonna do? Kill them? That's crazy. We're against killing. We're against war. We're for peace. But the liars in media make it seem like somehow we're on the other side. Oh, do you want to destroy Israel? Literally no one said destroy Israel. Tucker Carlson never said it, Megyn Kelly never said it, I never said it. No one has ever said that in American media. And yet they always ask that question hundreds of times. Now, let me ask you, how many times have you heard on cable news or anywhere in American media, does Palestine have a right to exist? I have it at approximately 0. And these guys say, we're the unbiased ones. They say we in the mainstream media are unbiased and objective. In fact, we're the only objective people. If you hear news anywhere online or anywhere else, remember, don't listen to them because they're biased. Are you kidding me? I've never seen anyone more biased than the traditional legacy media in this country. Disgustingly biased. Okay, so I promise you the map. I do have one more Tucker clip, but first let's look at the map. Because this is the map of Israel and Palestine, and let's see how it developed over the years. Well, first, it starts out with Israel having, first it starts out with just Palestine, right? And at that point, 6% of that land is owned by Jewish folks. Boom, they get 48% right out of the gate. So how are they gonna get all that land? There's people live in those homes all over, right? In what was the green area now is the blue area. The blue area is Israel, green area is now the much smaller homeland of the Palestinians. What happened to all those homes? Well, they were driven, they were slaughtered. They were driven into those smaller green areas. That's the second from the left as you're looking at it. Well, then Israel attacked again and again and again, and now 53% of Gaza, the small green area, is gone. That's part of Israel. And now the West Bank has been chopped into many different pieces, and Area C has been annexed by Israel, and a giant portion of even that tiny little West Bank in Gaza have been now borged, taken over by Israel. And then you've got Golan Heights, now you've got southern Lebanon, you've got western Syria, and then Israel continues to expand and expand and expand. Meanwhile, everyone in American media is saying, poor Israel, they're the victims. All they were doing was attacking their neighbors, killing them and taking their land. They're the victim, don't they have a right to exist? No, they have a right to exist. They don't have a right to attack other people. They don't have a right to take other people's land. That is not a right that exists in the world. But they demand it. And look, I'm looking forward to cable news anchors and others in the media finally asking the question, does Palestine have a right to exist? Because it's obvious that our entire mainstream media hates the Palestinians, are deeply bigoted against them and racist against them. And they think Palestine existing, who cares? I care so little about that it doesn't even cross my mind. There's 5.5 million prisoners that Israel is holding in open air camps in West Bank and Gaza. And our media has shown absolutely no interest or sympathy in those Palestinians. Every single question is framed to help Israel while they pretend to be objective. Okay, one last clip from the interview.
A right to exist? Does the United States have a right to exist?
There was a world order built up after 1945 which suggested that aggression should not be condoned into countries. Then that countries with borders have the right to intervene.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Which is why the first thing that Israel did within 2 weeks of this war starting, which is supposedly existential for them, was take southern Lebanon, take someone else's country, as they have done repeatedly. And no one even mentions that. And so I guess I would be opposed to that because I think Lebanon has a right to exist. I thought Gaza had a right to exist. But I noticed that as soon as we start apportioning rights, only one country gets them.
No, I did not say that. You're absolutely putting words into my mouth.
So because I believe, here's what I do believe, since you asked. I believe in universally applicable standards. And if they're not universally applicable, they're not standards, they're preferences.
So Tucker Carlson is 100% right on this. And don't tell me that he's worse than mainstream media. I just saw him being way better than mainstream media. And Zanny Minton Meadows, you implicitly are saying that. Because did you ask about the atrocities of Israel in southern Lebanon? No. Did anybody in mainstream media even talk about the atrocities? Do you know that they're bombing the bridges so that the Lebanese cannot come back into their homes? Do you know that, as we told you, that they took 53% of Gaza and they're never going to return it? Well, you wouldn't know any of that if you watch junk like the Economist interview here or any of the junk in our media, because they never tell you that, because they're not concerned about the Lebanese. They're not concerned about the Palestinians, because they're deeply racist and they work for Israel. So they tell you, well, Israel, how about you? Are you concerned? Do they have a right to exist? Should they have double Iron Dome, quadruple Iron Dome? Should they have all the nukes in the world? Shouldn't America give them, they've only given them 330 billion. Shouldn't they give them 380 billion, 400 billion, 800 billion? Israel, Israel, Israel. But I'm not biased. Please, please spare me. You people are the most biased propagandists in the history of the world. Previous fascist governments that did genocides wish they had the propaganda machine that mainstream media in the West is for Israel. Because then the Germans would have said they were the victims. And our entire press would have said, oh, the poor Germans, they had to take the Sudetenland. Because they did it as a preemptive war for self-defense. This is sickening. It's sickening when the Germans do it to the Jews. It's sickening when the Israelis do it to the Palestinians. It's sickening under any circumstance when we are forced to pay for a genocide, and now we're forced to pay for yet another war that Israel wants. But anytime that we go to talk about the war or any of these abuses, the media doesn't ask and doesn't care about Palestinians or Lebanese or Syrians or Iranians to mainstream media in the West. Those are dirty Muslims. Those are useless, worthless Arabs. And their lives don't count at all. The only lives that count are the super precious golden Israelis. And every question has to be asked from their perspective and how to protect the precious, precious golden Israelis. The Arabs and the Muslims, who cares about them? And you will see that I am right going forward, not just in the past. The past is evident. You can go watch all of those clips on cable news, all of those on television and the networks. And you will never find them caring about the Palestinians, never, or anyone else in the Middle East. All you'll hear is Israeli propaganda day in and day out. But let's go to the future. So how do I know what's going to happen in the future? I know it because there's a script. If there was no script and there was no propaganda, then you couldn't possibly know the future. But I guarantee you, you could watch the American press for the next, make up a number, 2 weeks, a month. I mean, an enormous amount of time, right? Where Israel is invading southern Lebanon, and you will get no stories about it. You will not get any stories about the vicious invasion of Lebanon and how they've cleared out, displaced 1 million people. So they did ethnic cleansing again. Did you know that? Did ABC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, did any of them talk about, oh my God, the Israelis just did ethnic cleansing again, this time in southern Lebanon? No, they haven't, and they won't, because they work for Israel. They see that and they go, that's Gaza. That's what Israel did to Gaza. That is, if that's not genocidal, you don't have eyes and ears, and you're a sick person if you support doing that to civilians. And all the sick, disgusting people in our media see that and go, poor Israel. No, objective. What a joke. What a brilliant piece of propaganda to take the most biased people in the country and pretend they're the only objective ones. Thank you to Tucker Carlson for doing that aggressive interview where he asked logical questions and stated facts and made the reporter look absolutely foolish, because she is. And we're all, on behalf of all the people, not just in America and the West, but the whole world, we tell the Western press, we're sick of you. We're sick of your bias. We're sick of you constantly defending and doing propaganda for Israel. Can you, for once, actually care about people in America, people in Europe, other people in the Middle East, and go, hey, should the Europeans pay for this? Should the Americans pay for this? No, only thing you care about is Israel, and we just can't stand it anymore. You deserve the loathing that the people of the world heap on top of you, because you are not journalists, you're the exact opposite. You don't cover the news, you cover up the news on behalf of your beloved, precious Israel. Young Turks. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.
What do you think this war does to the US-Israeli relationship going forward? And I ask because it's not a popular war in America.
I understand it's not a popular war in America because, usually people do not know the intricacies of the war, and they also compare it to previous and other wars. This is a unique war. And I listened very carefully to Secretary Rubio's statements yesterday in Congress. It's a unique war, it's a focused war, it is a war that comes in a time where you can really bring real change in the Middle East for the future.
Well, it turns out the American people are not buying it. You just heard from Israeli President Isaac Herzog. And Cenk, it turns out that more polling has come out, which indicates that this war against Iran is deeply unpopular with the American people. Your 2 cents?
Yeah, I want people to see how bad it's going in terms of this war with the polling. But I also want to talk about how bad the war is going in terms of the bombings, because they've now begun a genocide in Iran as well. So it's not a genocide yet, but they're doing the same exact tactics they use in Gaza. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yes. Now, as for public opinion, The Guardian did something really interesting. They reached out to their readers and they asked their American readers in particular, what are your thoughts on the fact that we, are now at war with Iran? And they spoke to a lot of interesting people, including, Persian Americans, Iranian Americans. And I want to start off with 66-year-old Iraj Roshan, who's a retired cardiologist. He was born in Tehran, but he's been in the United States for many decades. He's a US citizen. And here's what he had to say. I don't have any love lost for the Ayatollahs, but these wars are won by narrative, which I thought was a really interesting point. He continues, I don't see any way this war is going to end in a way that the US can declare victory without putting boots on the ground or without arming the Iranians themselves. I hate to see that so many American kids are going to be eventually dragged into a war that we cannot win, at least by any definition that we could write down today. So he's being very real about the risks that are being taken, and he does not have a rosy outlook in regard to how this is all going to play out. Then you have another, Iranian 18-year-old Shahram Shamagam from Texas, who identifies as a Republican and in fact absolutely loathes the regime in Iran. He called them controlling and horrible. However, he did say this: the US is not doing much to minimize civilian casualties, and we have no real plan after we finish this operation. What will replace the government of Iran? And will we have boots on the ground? Is there any guarantee that this won't be our generation's Afghanistan or Iraq? And you know how we feel about that. You know how Cenk and I feel about that. Now, 41-year-old Meg, who's a small business owner in Brooklyn, told The Guardian, for a lot of my Muslim friends, this is their favorite time of year. So to have this renewed tragedy strike in the middle of that, and of course she's referring to Ramadan. As someone on the outskirts who cares about people in my community and in my circle of friends, it breaks my heart. You have 74-year-old Barb, a retired mental health counselor based in North Carolina, who told The Guardian, "We can be sure that Trump has launched this war for selfish purposes, whether to flaunt his power to control the headlines away from Epstein or to entertain himself. This needless war is not for the benefit of the Iranian people, nor is it to the benefit of the American people." So let's be clear about that as well. But outside of these individual, testimonies and anecdotes, the broader public opinion also shows that this war is not being handled well by the Trump administration. At least that's what the majority of Americans think. Now, let's go to the CNN poll, which found that about 60% of Americans disapproved of the attacks, according to a CNN poll conducted immediately after the strikes. Two other polls by Reuters and Ipsos and the Washington Post had similar results. For instance, a majority of Americans, 56%, said that President Trump was too willing to use military force to advance US interests. That was in the Reuters Ipsos poll. Then you look at a new Fox News poll, and that also had some pretty interesting results. Currently, 43% approve and 57% disapprove of the job Trump is doing as president overall. But then you take a look at, some of the specific issues. So another 6 in 10 say he is focused on the wrong things. By comparison, 54% said Biden had the wrong focus in November of 2021. So at the same point in, Biden's presidency. And then when you look at Trump's ratings, they're underwater by 35 points on the cost of living, 32% approve, 67% disapprove. He's underwater 27 points on tariffs, 23 points on the economy and healthcare, 20 points when it comes to foreign policy. He's underwater 19 points on taxes, 13 points on jobs, and 6 points on immigration. Back to you, Cenk.
Yeah, so I want to give you guys context. When we started the Iraq war, was it popular or unpopular? It was actually very popular. Why? Because the American people were lied to. They were told that there was weapons of mass destruction. And this is a really important one. They were told that Iraq attacked us on 9/11. And that's just not true at all. Not even 1% true. In fact, they would attack Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was also opposed to Iraq. And 69% of Americans believed that Saddam had personally attacked us on 9/11. They were lied into war in that way. So hence, when we started the war, it was at a 72% approval. This war, when it starts, is already at a 60% disapproval. So that is all the difference in the world. Iraq got super unpopular through a series of debacles and disasters through many years. This one starts out deeply unpopular. And guys, when we start a war, even if most people were against it, like there was 2 different polls before the war started. One had it at 70% of Americans opposed. Another one had it at 85% of Americans opposed. But once the war starts, you usually rally around the flag and you get a little bit more popular. The war gets a little bit more popular. In this case, barely moved, still 60% unpopular. So America hates this war, doesn't want it at all. And neither does Iran, obviously, based on what Anna read you, and let alone what you're about to hear next. And though there's only one country in the world that wants this war, and that's Israel.
Now, the thing that's really concerning, Cenk, is the fact that Trump seems to be under this delusion that the majority of Americans actually love that we're at war with Iran. So Politico spoke to Trump, and I just want to give you an excerpt from their piece where they say that Donald Trump has brushed off concerns over any backlash sparked by the US-Israeli military operation against Iran, saying the public is loving it. In an interview with Politico, the US president said, quote, "People are loving what's happening. We're taking out a threat to the United States of America, major threat, and doing it like nobody's ever seen before." Now, most Americans don't buy that excuse for military intervention against Iran. Most people know that this is being fought on behalf of Israel. But to your point, Cenk, why don't we take a quick look at some of the issues that have already come up when it comes to the US-Israeli attacks on Iran in particular, because it turns out that the civilian casualties are really starting to increased significantly. The total number of reported civilian deaths stands at 1,114, including 181 children. The New York Times published their investigation into the elementary school, the all-girls school in Manab that was part of the opening strikes against Iran. And it turns out that their investigation found that the United States did carry out those strikes, which is incredibly devastating. You know, you have an incident like the death toll in that strike keeps changing, but there's evidence that a double tap happened, double strike, and that as many as 160 little girls were killed as a result of these strikes against the school. Anyway, now there's more because there's a new report in the UK publication known as The Telegraph. And the title of the piece, if you want to read it for yourselves, is Tehran, an apocalypse of hospitals in flames and children buried beneath the rubble. Certainly sounds a lot like Gaza, doesn't it? The report indicates that Kamran, a Tehran resident, told The Telegraph that the United States and Israel have been bombing endlessly with no care about where or what they're striking. He says, quote, "They are striking buildings where families live. After each explosion, people rush to help, and then another bomb hits the same area." And again, it bears repeating, these double tap strikes were carried out against the girls' school in Manab. The girls' school in Iran, where 165 people were killed by an apparent US-Israeli attack, was hit with 2 strikes, with the second missile killing sheltering survivors, 2 first responders, and the parent of a slain child have told Middle East Eye. And according to Kamran, going back to his statements, remember he's the guy who lives in Tehran, he says many people are trapped under the rubble, hospitals are filled with injured patients, and staff are overwhelmed. They are even striking hospitals where the wounded are being treated. And hospitals certainly are being struck. A hospital in the southern Bushehr area have been destroyed. Then you also have the emergency workers who have been seen evacuating newborn babies from that hospital, which suffered the terrible strike, trying to get those newborn babies out into safety. The Gandhi Hospital in Tehran and multiple other medical facilities across the country were also struck by the Israelis and the US. Ashkan, another Tehran resident told the Telegraph, quote, "An apocalypse is unfolding here. Today has been the worst day. Those who had cars fled. Those of us without cars are left here under the bombs." So the bodies are piling up, and it's absolutely devastating, Cenk. And what also should be reported, but isn't really reported in US media, unfortunately, is the fact that the Iranians have actually carried out some strikes on important military installations and military capabilities that we have in the region. So for instance, to be fair, CNN did do this investigation. They found that Iran has destroyed a key US radar system supporting a THAAD missile defense battery at our base in Jordan, more than 500 miles away from Iran. The radar, a critical component used to detect and track ballistic missiles for interception, appears to have been completely destroyed during the early days of this war. That's not a good sign for the United States, certainly, and it's not a good sign as the United States runs low on these, interceptor missiles.
Yeah, so let me add a couple of things to that. A refugee crisis has begun. A lot of Iranians starting to move to Turkey, and from there they'll probably move into Europe. So Israel driving yet more mass refugee and immigration crises towards the West. Number 2, we're trying to make a deal with the Kurds to have them do a disastrous, basically incursion from Iraq into Iran, and they'd get slaughtered. But they're trying to foment a civil war. They were waiting for the green light from the Americans. Marco Rubio said, "We haven't armed them, but I can't speak for the Israelis." So that means the Israelis have armed the Kurds, which by the way then leads to another problem. The Turks are not going to be happy at all about the Kurds being armed very near their border. So they're going to be even more irate about this and pushes them closer to Iran on it. So now, guys, this entire epic disaster, especially on the Iranian people, brought to you by the same Israelis who told you we have to attack Iran because they care so much about the Iranian people. The protesters were killed and the Israeli hearts broke over it. So they had to go in there and kill them more.
So I want to address that real quick because I think that there are a lot of well-meaning people who even watch our show. In fact, I got a lengthy email from one of our viewers, a longtime viewer of TYT, who, seems to think that we are defending the regime in Iran. That is not the case. I am against US and certainly Israel's involvement in what's going on because they don't care about brutalizing the Iranian people. In fact, in Tehran, they have been brutalized from the very beginning of this war. I mean, the opening strikes killed hundreds of little girls in an elementary school. So do you guys understand where I'm coming from? I'm not rejecting this war because I don't care about the Iranian people and I want them to suffer under a regime they don't like. I think that the situation will be far worse with US and Israeli involvement because as we've heard Pete Hegseth say now in multiple press conferences, there are no brakes on the car. They don't believe in war crimes. They don't believe in being held back by international law, meaning they don't care about killing civilians. How is that liberating the Iranian people? Please explain that to me. That is not some, default support for the Iranian regime. I just know better. As an Armenian, okay, Armenian American, I was born and raised in the United States, but nonetheless, I care about Armenia. I would rather put a gun to my head than encourage the US military to do an invasion into Armenia for any reason, because I know it's not going to end well. So I just don't get it. I don't get how people don't understand this. I don't get how people can see what Israel has carried out in Gaza and think that the Israelis would care to protect Iranian civilians. And so far, all we've seen is civilians getting battered and killed.
Yeah, so look, I know people are so frustrated with the regime in the Iranian diaspora that they think anything to change it, anything. And I want to go back, I want to be with my family, or I want to be able to visit, and I'm going to trust the Israelis. Oh no, never trust the Israelis. Are you crazy? I mean, just because you want regime change doesn't mean that any way to do it makes sense. Okay, what if North Korea said, all right, great, your wish is our command. We're going to do regime change in Iran and we're going to start by nuking them. Well, how would that help? Like, I guess what you're saying is, well, obviously Israel is not North Korea. They have our best interests. Oh my God, you think they have your best interests in mind? No, they don't. So that which brings us to today. So what's happening, as Anna told you, here we go again. They're bombing schools, hospitals, apartment buildings. So I was debating this on Piers Morgan yesterday, and Matt Schlapp, the head of the, one of the largest conservative conferences, about the 165 girls killed in the elementary school. He said, well, if they'd grown up, they were going to wear burqas anyway.
Yeah, he's a disgusting, despicable excuse for a human being, honestly. Like, these people disgust me, absolutely disgust me. And it's pure evil. Like, these are the people who are gonna liberate the Iranians. They don't even see the Iranians as human beings. They think that they're all like religious extremists, worthy of slaughter, including little girls. Yeah. So I apologize to people who are offended that I don't want US and Israeli involvement or intervention in Iran. And it's not because I don't care about the Iranian people. It's actually the exact opposite of that. I don't want them to be slaughtered.
Yeah.
Removed and you will be replaced. And such is the level of fear that if you remember when MBS became in charge, he took many of his rivals in hotels, possibly tortured them, threatened them, and made them bend the knee to his power. For example, one of them was a guy who whose name I forget, but he's basically owns 20% of Twitter. What's the guy's name again? I forgot his name, but I know how he looks like. And
the original creator of Twitter, or
no, he with Elon Musk, he had a percentage in Twitter.
Oh, I remember what's his name, Jack something.
No, Jack Doherty. No, this is a Saudi Arabian individual.
Okay.
So he was one of the people who MBS thought may be a rival to his leadership. So the first thing is they know America can take them out. They know that Mossad can take them out. They know that they're in bed together. They're intrinsically linked all these years. The fourth thing is this. The entire military is built from the United States of America. Their fighter jets, their military policy, their military ranks, their military equipment and weaponry are all but beholden to the United States of America. Some people, some of my sources tell me this. This is not something that is publicly available, so just take it with a grain of salt. But I'm telling you, this is the case. That the F-35 fighter jets that Saudi Arabia have, first of all, aren't as good as the Israeli F-35 fighter jets. But more than that, they actually have to get a special code from the United States of America before they can fly them. So such is the reliance of the United States of America. The other thing about Saudi Arabia is the Emiratis aren't built to fight, and they are a very fearful people. They aren't able to protect themselves. They have the money, so they don't need the money from anyone else. But they want protection. Who can give them that protection? Well, you look at the world, you think maybe Turkey, but Turkey's in a weak spot and may have to defend itself. Pakistan, largely vassalized by the United States of America, in a very weakened position. Who else could protect South China? The Chinaman don't fight. So who would protect Saudi Arabia? And so it comes back to reliance on your previous protector.
But they have shown that they can't protect. I mean, the United States has basically betrayed the Gulf states and put them in the crosshairs of Iran. And I appreciate your answer, and I like the historical dive, but I also think that dialectically we're watching a power dynamic evolve where it's sort of like the changing of the guard. I see that the American presence is waning. I think Iran is asserting its dominance, and it's not the 1970s anymore. And we also know that Iran has told Saudi Arabia that MBS could be a target too. So I mean, it seems like Saudi Arabia is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place at this point. But I don't think trusting the Americans is a good idea at this point.
I mean, we agree.
Yeah.
So if the question is, should they trust the Americans? The answer is no. Don't trust the blood. Yeah. But if the answer is, will they trust them? That's a separate question, right? Then I say the answer is yes. So let's take Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia, without a shadow of a doubt, has been hit. We agree on that. They've been hit by drones. They've been hit by missiles. They've also been able to take out some of the drones and some of the missiles. And so from the Saudi Arabian perspective, they're thinking, what is our other option? So all of those things together that I mentioned, you can't give all of those up. And in addition to that, who else can protect you in the sense of, if you look at America now, they've already said to them, send us $22 more billion. We'll replenish your equipment. So in their mind, obviously, we're seeing it as, look, America can't defend them. They've been hit. The Prince Sultan Air Base got hit. The embassies got hit. Various other places in Saudi Arabia got hit. They've been demonstrated to be weakened. And it's been shown that America can't protect them. But if you were to ask a Saudi, which there are many Saudis on here, they actually think the opposite. They think that America has been a brilliant partner for them, that America has been giving them intelligence, that America, the situation would have been exponentially worse without America. They believe that if America wasn't there, Iran may have invaded them and it would have been the Great Persia. Like, this is the psychology of these people. And that's why you need to get into their mind as opposed to your own mind, which your mind makes sense, but theirs doesn't.
I just see that, like, metaphorically, Saudi Arabia is in the dentist chair, Iran is the dentist, and they're trying to excise this painful root canal, and the more that the Gulf Coast countries resist, the more painful it's going to be for them. But anyway,
they've been in their mind, they think that if the root canal is taken out, they're going to die. And you're like, bro, It's just a root canal. Like, this ain't gonna kill you. This ain't gonna. And they're like, no. Like, no, it's gonna kill me, but we need the. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean you're right. I mean they're definitely sticking to their guns with aligning with themselves with the Americans even at this crucial hour.
I mean, you're seeing it now, right? You asked me about the UAE. You said, "What, Suleiman? Why is the UAE said that they're gonna now go into an offensive war? The UAE is allowing their country to be stationed, but the
They
UAE
still doubt
and the-
Iran, don't they?
Sorry.
They still doubt Iran and
Well,
what Iran's capable of.
I'm not sure about that. All because
Okay.
look, if you look at their country, and this is what I'm trying to make you understand. Like
Okay.
Dubai. Let's take Dubai. I know my audience can cry about this again. That he's talking about Dubai again. But the thing is, Dubai, it's a ghost town.
Yeah.
Nobody's left there. The only people left there are poor Pakistani, Indians, Filipinos who can't afford to go back. The rich influencers either have all left. And I know myself that some of these people who are doing propaganda for Dubai, they've sent their family out, right? So it's a ghost town. Nobody is hardly there except Emiratis themselves. The industry has been destroyed. Their financial system has been destroyed. Their house prices have been destroyed. And you think, listen, Dubai, America couldn't protect you. America took away the thing that you took so long to build, which is tourism. All of these things happen to you. Wake up. And yet they do the opposite. They double down. They give America more money. They say you can use Dubai as a stationing ground. They say we're going to go to war with Iran. Because in their mind, they think if we take Iran out now, let's just go all in. Let's allow everything to be destroyed. If we take Iran out now, in their mind, they're thinking that's it. Then we never have to worry about anything ever again. And our country is going to prosper. We know that's wrong because we know there's a country called Israel who's actually the real problem. But I'm just trying to tell you the psychology of these Emiratis and these Gulf states.
We saw a video just a second ago of the Dubai airport is completely just no people anywhere. And I wonder, do we even know how many people have like fled at this point? It's got to be hundreds of thousands or what's it's a very populous city.
It's a ghost town. A lot of people have left. The only people who remain there, like I said, are just poor underclass people. I don't like calling them underclass. They're not underclass. They're human beings, but they view them as underclass. So they're the only people left who aren't able to leave. Almost all these influencers have left. All these rich people have left. Everyone's gone to safety. The only people remaining are these, these few people you see on the internet who are like social media who are doing the influencing. But they themselves have sent their family out. Ask them, do a picture of your family. Are they there as well right now, live? They won't.
Nope. Poor Mario Nawfal.
He's not in Dubai either.
Oh, he's not. He left.
No, I know him.
Okay, so what else did I want to ask you? So let's turn to something more happy. We're on the 84th wave of True Promise right now.
Yeah.
I heard Lawrence Wilkerson was telling some podcaster that he's been receiving a lot of these pirated videos out of Israel, and he says Israel's being ripped apart at this point. And do you have any insider info coming from Tel Aviv? I mean, what are we looking at here at this point?
Let's even not look at the insider information. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's just look at the publicly available information, right?
Okay.
Tel Aviv has been decimated.
Yeah.
If you look at it today, there was like 2, I believe, or 3 cluster missiles that were directed towards Tel Aviv. I was watching those. 0 interceptors went up to try and stop them, even before they dispersed. So I guess we're right. They've either got no defense interceptor missiles, which is highly likely. There's I forgot the name now. There's Royal Institute of something. It's an Zionist NGO.
Yeah, I know. Right. Mm-hmm.
They basically said that a couple of days ago that Israel only has 1 or 2 days left of defense interceptor missiles. Either it's the defense interceptor missiles or either it's the radars that have been taken out because the radars basically stop them from getting warning. Whichever one of those 2 is, probably a combination of both. They are getting no defense interceptor missiles out. Today's hits, no defense interceptor missiles. They came in, they completely